Alright, today on the channel we're going to take a look at the Super Console X2. This is the latest and greatest retro video game console from Kinhank, and as the name suggests, it is the official sequel to the Super Console X. Comes in this very nondescript box, retro video game console on the side, Super Console retro video game console on the top. Very plain Jane box packaging. Inside the packaging you will get this IR remote. That is because the Super Console X2 is dual boot functionality, so you can boot into Android, download and get all sorts of applications on there like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and make this like a home media streaming little console if you wish. You get some very extensive instruction manuals telling you how to add your own ROMs should you wish. Today we'll be testing out the 256 gigabyte SD card that does come preloaded with what it claims to be over 100,000 games. You also have the user manual telling you the bare bones basics on what everything does, the menu options, and that sort of thing. So I'm actually kind of impressed with how extensive this is. Normally it's just a one-page document, something of that nature. You do get two wireless controllers as an option. These are PlayStation 2 style knockoff controllers. You open up the back, there's a USB dongle in there. You'll put in two batteries and then you'll plug in the USB dongle into the console, and then you'll have wireless controllers. I always tell people, these aren't the worst controllers, they aren't the best controllers, they're middle of the road, but honestly I always just prefer to kind of set them aside and use my own USB controllers. You can use whatever joystick, fight pad, USB configuration you want, so if you got your own preferred USB gamepad that you like to use, then just totally ignore these, don't worry about it at all. You have an HDMI cable included, you get your power brick, nothing to write home about, and then the system itself fits in the palm of your hand. A little bit bigger than a wallet, but not by far. So we have two USB 2.0 ports on the right hand side, and then around back we have our Ethernet port, we have our HDMI out, we have a 3.5mm AV jack, we have our power port, and then we have our power on and off button, which is a welcome improvement because a lot of these systems don't have a power on and off, and the only way to power them on and off is to physically unplug. Notable admission here though is there is no SD card slot, so that is a bit problematic. It does come with a little micro USB adapter, so you have your games all preloaded here on this 256 gigabyte micro SD card. You just plug in the included adapter and then voila. But as you can see, that's kind of a design flaw if you ask me. So there also is an included USB hub here, so we've got 4 ports, 3 on the side and 1 on the back. So they were thinking ahead kind of, so they're like, okay, people are going to want to have 2 players, so how do you do 2 players? You plug that in there, you plug this in, and then you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 players, so you can do it that way. But I just think it's kind of silly that we have to have this dongle at all. It seems just like a glaring oversight that they didn't design this system to have the micro SD port built in on the chipset itself. So you do get all this, so you don't have to worry about sourcing this yourself, so don't worry about that. But overall, small little compact unit. Let's go ahead and power it up and see what the user interface looks like and check out the performance. Okay, so here's the user interface that you'll be greeted with the first time you power up your system. When you first do power it on, you will be greeted with a configuration to set up your inputs for your controller. You'll just follow the on-screen commands, enter your inputs however you see fit, and it'll be good to go to use whatever controller. Like I said, you don't have to use the ones that is included with this. You can use other USB gamepads, fight pads, joysticks, whatever. As far as totality of the games on here, it says 107,328, and I'll be the first to tell you that is not accurate. You can pretty much cut 60% off of that because a lot of this is repetitive games that show up in different files and categories. So like you'll get every variation region of NBA Jam, whether it be European, Japanese, American, so you get multiples of that same game, so it repeats over and over again. You got arcade games, 2,534. Final Burn Alpha is also arcade games, so again, things like that are a little bit misleading. Cave, the IGS, the IREM, MAME, obviously all of these are arcade games. A lot of overlapping games that are going to be following in each one of these categories. You're going to have all your major retro home consoles, so anything you can think of, and for the most part, all these older consoles will have their entire game list on them. So every ColecoVision game, every Commodore 64, every NES game, Sega Super Nintendo, you name it, it's going to have them all on this 256 gigabyte card. Now, like I said, there's a lot of repetitive files on there, and it is a little bit overwhelming at times. But for the most part, everything is well categorized and easy to find. Like I said, everything's got its subcategories. You can even have these hacks. Basically, these are just modified game files. Some of these are kind of quirky and fun to play with, but for the most part, you can just ignore them. Consoles like Nintendo 64, PlayStation Portable, Atomiswave, Dreamcast, some of your more advanced systems, for the most part, will run exceptionally well on here. Not every game is going to run great, though. I ran into a lot of issues with PSP specifically. Some issues can be corrected by changing the emulator, so some of these games obviously need a specific emulator to run them correctly, and sometimes you have to go in there and manually tweak and adjust that emulator to get it to run correctly. Nintendo 64 is a prime example. A lot of the MAME Plus default emulated games won't work well, so you have to change it over to parallel emulator, and then they work exceptionally well after that. So you will have to tweak some of these, and if that's something you don't want to mess with, and this probably isn't the system for you, you're going to have the entire Neo Geo catalog, which is great. PlayStation, like I said, PlayStation Portable as well. For the most part, the PlayStation Portable is going to be consisting of a lot of these are the PlayStation Portable Mini titles. Some of the more advanced games like God of War, things like that, you will have to emulate with frame skip enabled to get them playable, because quite frankly this chip just cannot handle the more advanced 3D games from things like PlayStation Portable. But overall, your menu options, you got loads of them. You can go in there in the game collection settings. Like I said, we got lots of systems, 74 pre-selected. You can go in there and you can get rid of a lot of them. So if you don't want to see these categories, or you don't play the Atari games, you can uncheck them, unselect them, and that way next time you boot up your system, you don't ever have to worry about them again. You can go to custom game selection, so if you want nothing but just a beat 'em ups or something like that, you can do that. You can also add and remove favorites, so you can have your own favorites listings, so that way you don't have to weed through all these different individual categories. You can do all sorts of different game settings, so you can change the aspect ratio, 4:3, 16:9, you name it. You can do rewind, save states, load states. You can put scan lines, CRT filters, that type of thing. So anything like that is really going to be easy to customize, and you can do things universally or you can do them individually. So if I wanted to change the individual settings on a game, I would just long press it and go in there and go to advanced game options, and this is where you would change the emulator, your aspect ratio, whether or not you want bezels on or off. So you can do that. But overall, it's pretty straightforward, pretty handy dandy categorization. Like I said, easy to find. You get a little blurb about the game itself, when it came out, who made it, a little picture of it, and some nice little background imagery. So it looks appealing, but let's go ahead and see how it performs. When it's all said and done, the Super Console X2 is a solid little retro emulation console. However, there's not a whole lot of new functionality or features that really would warrant any kind of upgrade over the previous Super Console systems already out there on the market. So if you're somebody that's already got one, you're looking to upgrade, this probably isn't going to be the device for you. However, if you're just getting into the world of retro video game emulation and you're looking for something that plays all sorts of games and plays, for the most part, the majority of them exceptionally well, then you might want to look into this. So I'll put product links down in the video description box below in case you're interested. You can get this on Amazon, AliExpress, you name it. I'll put them all down in the video description box below, as well as the pinned comment. And that does it for this video review. Hope you found the information helpful. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot.